following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations.
A very good evening. You are joining the Business Best, a platform for the best in the business and an opportunity for you to meet innovation, excellence, and talent as we introduce entrepreneurs and veterans from various industries. For a significant number of years, Sri Lanka has always been facing consequences of natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and now the economic crisis. And this beautiful country, despite all these struggles, is trying to rebuild and bloom as a nation. In this process, we are not alone because there is a world out there who is willing to support us. In fact, Japan has always been a true friend to us since 1952. So today, we are going to talk about this true friendship with two distinguished individuals. We have in our studios Mr. Mahen Kariyawasam, President of the Sri Lanka Japan Business Council. We warmly welcome you, sir. Thank you very much for being here with us today. And Mr. Katsuki Kotaro, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of Japan. Warmly welcome you to Ada Derana Studios.
Thank you very much, Dhiru.
Right, to start off with, to begin with, what is the Sri Lanka Japan Business Council? Mr. Kariyawasam?
Yeah, the Sri Lanka Japan Business Council was established in way back in 1978 together with the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. And our main aim is to promote tourism, trade, and bilateral trade between the two countries. So we have been doing that for a considerable time. And also we have a joint partner in Japan called the Japan-Sri Lanka Business Council and the Japan Chamber of Commerce. So through this council, we try to promote bilateral trade between our two countries, trade and investments between the two countries.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Kariyawasam. So it is its main role to promote trade and
investment, and tourism.
Investment, and so forth.
That's
what
right.
is its significance, Sri Lankan community?
We have I think Japan has been our number one trading partner in the past. And I think we have a good potential to promote trade, bilateral trade between the two countries. And I think we have a very good opportunity, even the Sri Lankans, to go out there and promote our products. For example, like tea, the IT sector, the herbal tea, which is very popular in Japan from Sri Lanka at the moment. So, and of course, tourism. We now have 4 flights a week, Sri Lankan Airlines flying into Tokyo.
4 flights a week?
A week,
wow,
yes. So that's a very big encouragement for us.
Yes.
And Sri Lanka Tourism is now planning a promotional campaign, which will be started now in about a week's time, especially including Japan. So I think we foresee a great future for us together with Japan. Also, we are very thankful to Japan for helping us in our debt restructuring program. I think Kotaro-san will explain to us a little bit more about that.
Of course. Kotaro-san, so Japan, Sri Lanka, this friendship. What is Japan to Sri Lanka?
Well, Japan and Sri Lanka has long ties, and one is historical, I think, and I think you rightly pointed out, 1951-52, then Finance Minister J.R. Jayawardena made a very favorable speech for Japan during the San Francisco Peace Conference. And at that time, we were struggling after the end of the war to come back to the international community. Then Sri Lanka stood firmly next to us and helped us come back and be welcomed to the international community. So now I think Sri Lanka is in some trouble, so I think it's natural for Japan to help Sri Lanka. Then secondly, I think it's this commonness between us. We are both island countries, very strong paddy influence, And also, I think Buddhism heritage, we are rich in that. So with all these similarities, I think we have much in common. So I think that's why naturally we think we are very close to Sri Lanka.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, Sri Lanka is going through a tough time these days. So Mr. Kariyawasam, how will these bilateral discussions help our nation?
Definitely, Our Excellency the President was in Japan a few months ago, and we also had some talks with the Japanese business community, which was very positive. I think we have to regain the confidence, the investor confidence for the Japanese due to some issues that we have had in the past. There's a little bit of confidence that has to be built up. So that I think we are doing it in the correct way. And we have about 65 to 70 Japanese firms in Sri Lanka in various aspects, into ceramics, into boat building and so on. So we must try to protect them and to keep them back without moving out. There are some issues. I think now it has been sorted out. I think you would agree to that. And we must make them investor happy here, because if we make them happy, then we will obviously attract more investments into the country. So that would be, objective.
Have these issues impacted the impression Japan has towards Sri Lanka? Kotaro-san?
Yes, well, as Mahen just mentioned, yes, in the recent past, we did go through some difficulties. But I think what is more important at this moment, I think, is that when Sri Lanka faced difficult times, especially last year, I think many people back in Japan were very much willing to help Sri Lanka. So, this IMF process, I think everyone has heard about it, and the IMF has approved on assistance package towards Sri Lanka, and in parallel to that, we are working on what is called the debt restructuring process, because the country ran out of foreign exchange reserve, and that was the cause of that economic crisis. So now we are working together with the other countries as creditors for Sri Lanka to come to a solution so that Sri Lanka can come out from this default situation. And I think we are doing quite well. In the very near future, I'm confident that this debt restructuring will move forward. And then that will even give us more confidence to do more trade and investment with Sri Lanka.
Okay, so we are definitely looking forward to better days.
Sure.
And even these bilateral discussions. Are these discussions heading towards a very positive side, I guess?
Yes, sure. It is.
So we can be hopeful that the Sri Lanka is going to bloom as a nation again, and with this.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
And also, I think the Sri Lankans would also have a very good opportunity with the Expo 2025 coming up in Osaka. I think that's giving an opportunity for a lot of Sri Lankan companies to go, export especially, to go and exhibit their products. And Japan has very kindly helped us to get there. So I think that also is going to be a turning point in our relations. And we are really looking forward to participating in that event.
So connecting with Sri Lankan trading partners, JCBC, Japan-Ceylon Business Connectivity, is a real highlight these days, isn't it, Mr. Kariyawasam?
Yes, correct. That's
Tell
right.
us more about it. What is it, and what is your team?
Well, of course, we facilitate a lot of Japanese trading and investors coming into Sri Lanka. We try to set up B2B meetings for them, do some matchmaking at the Ceylon Chamber. Recently also we had a delegation that came from Japan. So there is more and more interest in the Japanese companies to start working once again in Sri Lanka. So that's, I think, a good opportunity for Sri Lankans also to showcase Sri Lanka back there.
Only the large-scale manufacturers, or
also the SME sector. We are also looking at the SME sector.
SME sector.
Yes, especially at them. There was a delegation that came in a few months ago, let's say, just on a fact-finding mission. I think we will have quite a few coming up in the coming months as well. They're showing a lot of interest in Sri Lanka.
So is it research-based, or?
Well, they come first to have a look as to see what's happening in Sri Lanka, what are the incentives, what are the labor laws, what are the infrastructure available, and so on. So before they come and commit ourselves, we even have somebody coming next week as well.
Okay. So, what does Japan-Ceylon business connectivity offer to our community?
We offer connectivity between we try to locate a Sri Lankan company wants to export a certain item into Japan. So we try to see with our partners there, the Chamber of Commerce, we try to do some matchmaking. We try to see whether we can find a suitable partner there for them.
Okay.
So vice versa, we do it. I mean, if a Japanese company wants to come in here, we also try to help them out to locate an interesting partner.
Okay.
So those are the main things that we try to do.
So you are like the support system.
That's right. Yes.
GCPC.
Yeah. We launched also a website. Also in Japanese language we have it.
Oh.
So that it's easy for them, for any investor or anyone wants to do trading can contact us through the website.
Okay.
As well.
Right. So we are going to talk about Japan-Ceylon business connectivity after this short break. We're joining the Business Best, and we have Mr. Mahen Kariyawasam and Mr. Katsuki Kotaro with us. And Kotaro-san, let's talk about the support from your end to strengthen this bond.
Yes, thank you very much for that question, because in fact, Mahen and the embassy, also the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Sri Lanka, we've been working very closely to kind of, set up a platform with the Sri Lankan companies, Japanese companies operating here, so that we can coordinate closely and exchange information. And in fact, on the occasion of the President's visit to Japan this May, there was a business gathering, and there we had the presence of the counterpart of the Sri Lanka-Japan Business Council on the Japanese side, and also some other entities. And the whole idea is to try to connect both Sri Lankan business community and the Japanese business community together, and to provide the necessary information. Because investing or doing trade with a different country, always you need some kind of trust or confidence. So I think that's exactly what we are trying to do, and we are working very closely with Sri Lanka-Japan Business Council for that course.
Trust and confidence. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yes. One I think derives from our business culture, because just like person-to-person relationship in Japan, we put trust as a very important factor. So knowing someone very well, that counts a lot in the first place. Secondly, I think doing business in Sri Lanka has its own kind of, specific issues that might pop up. For instance, I think for an ordinary Japanese business person to, get the approvals of the, procedures, by themselves, it might be very difficult. But if we have the, help and partnership of a Sri Lankan, entity or company, then that will become much more smoother. So I think with all these reasons, I think there's ample, incentives for us also to work closely with Japanese companies, to work closely with Sri Lankan companies. That will, I think, guarantee that their success. Yes, the possibility of success
on
rather
trust
than,
and confidence. Yes,
totally relying on themselves.
Yes, and Japan-Ceylon business connectivity. What is your role in building this trust and confidence, Mr. Kariyawasam?
We are working quite hard on that. We also have what's called the Sri Lanka-Japan Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka, which consists of about 65 to 70 members of the Japanese community here who is doing business. So we work with them very closely. If there are issues, we try to get together to solve them, which we have done, I think, in the past as well. So we, like Kotaro-san said, we are trying to build up the confidence, the investor confidence, and to move forward. I think we have had some issues in the past, so I think we are trying to come over it. I think we are in a good way at the moment. There's more and more interest of Sri Lanka in Japan. So I think we are in a good position at the moment.
Very nice. Okay, excellent. And Mr. Kariyawasam, what are the barriers we have entering into the Japanese market?
Well, of course, apart from the language barrier, of course.
Is it a barrier?
Yes, there is one. But other than that, when we try to export, mainly food items and so on, there's a lot of regulations, which is understandable. Anywhere in the world, you have this kind of minimum requirements that you need and so on. So those are some of the, and it takes a little time to obtain these clearances for them to export. Other than that, of course, it's quite a good market out there. Like I said at the beginning, herbal tea is picking up very well out of Sri Lanka. You see in many supermarkets, if you walk around in Tokyo, the herbal tea over there, and also the iced tea. Iced tea is also very popular, taken out from Sri Lanka. So I think there's more room for improvement there. And also the seafood industry, they can also benefit. And also now that we have the flights operating, tourism is the other sector, like I mentioned, which in a good year, like in 2018, we had around 50,000 tourists who came, nearly 50,000 tourists that came in. Of course, the numbers went down with all the issues we have had, but I'm sure it's going to pick up again. And with this new capacity and connectivity, it will do well. And also the wellness tourism as well is quite a hit in Japan at the moment.
Okay. Who is on your team, Mr. Kariyawasam? Japan-Ceylon Business
Sri Lanka
Connectivity.
Business Council. We have quite a number of companies here who have links with Japan already, or who wants to have links with Japan. So we have around 120 members in total, and we are part of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. So we are linked with the Ceylon Chamber. And we have a working committee of about 15 people, and I have the 4 vice presidents working very closely with me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kariyawasam. Kotaro-san, according to you, what are the barriers Sri Lankans as trading partners have when entering into the Japanese market?
Okay, maybe it's a barrier, maybe not a barrier. But
challenge.
Yes, well, one thing is that if you have like a free trade agreement with another country, it guarantees that the duties are low, and also there's a lot of facilitation in the processes. So that might be one thing. And according to my knowledge, I think the current administration in Sri Lanka is trying to aim at a more export-oriented posture. And I think if that continues to roll, it means that hopefully we will have a healthy some kind of agreement between Japan and Sri Lanka, so that could, I think, kind of facilitate the increase of trade between, especially from Sri Lanka to Japan. So I would say that would be one thing. But at the same time, I know many Sri Lankan business people operating in Japan who are fluent in Japanese. It's amazing. And so maybe the similarity in the grammar, these things. So, I see it more of an opportunity rather than an obstacle. I think Sri Lankan people have an upper hand in doing well in Japan, in the Japanese market.
In the Japanese market. Well, thank you very much. And I think Sri Lanka is getting a very, you mentioned it earlier, Sri Lanka is getting a very special spot at the Expo 2025, which is to be held in Osaka. Tell us more about it.
Yes, thank you for that. And we must also thank the Japanese government for that. Right now the plans are underway to see whether we can get a little bit of extension of the space that we would need, because there's a lot of interest from Sri Lankan companies who wants to go there and exhibit. So we're trying to see how we can manage that situation. As a chamber, we will also are willing to participate. So maybe we would take some space at the exhibition and invite our members to jointly share the space, which will be a very good interaction point for them.
Okay. So what are the products you are going to showcase at the Expo?
Mainly there is a lot of interest from tea, cinnamon, in those sectors. And of course, other than that, of course, tourism is there.
Okay.
We will be having a tourism promotion stand as well, together with Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion, and we'll also invite the private sector companies to come and join us. So I think exports-wise, cinnamon, of course, gems is also one area which is very popular in Japan. So precious stones. So it's really there's a vast amount of possibilities going out to Japan there.
Okay. So Japan-Ceylon business connectivity. How will you support the entrepreneurs or the companies who's going to or who's willing to be a part of Expo 2025?
Of course, we will facilitate them. We will try to help them to secure the space, to get the accommodation or any other issues that they're going to face. And also we will have to take some samples with us, some export some items, so we will try to help. I must say also the Sri Lanka embassy in Japan also is quite positive, and they're also helping us a lot. So I think together we should be able to pull out a good show in Japan.
Thank you very much. Kotaro-san, finally, what is your message to our viewers?
Yes, well, I think firstly, the Sri Lankan people's resilience is so fascinating, because 1 year ago we were in such difficulty. Now we have somehow come out from that, and also the second thing is that as we were discussing, debt restructuring is around the corner. So the business environment for the Sri Lankan business community will increase in the coming months. So with all that, I think there's ample chance for the Sri Lankan business to start, approaching foreign markets. And for that, we hope that Japan would be one destination that many of the businesses will look into. And also at the same time, we hope that this, economic kind of, development continues in a healthy way, so that will facilitate the Sri Lankan business to go abroad. And we will try our best to assist that process.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure that Japan is going to be one of the best destinations for Sri Lanka.
I would like to be this.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Kariyawasam, what is your message to our viewers? If
well,
anyone wants to connect with you?
Yes, I think I invite companies who are interested to do exports to Japan, and also in the field of tourism, to join us, to join hands together. And as one unit, we could go further. And we try to help each other and develop this. We are lucky that we have a very good bond, and also Kotaro-san has been helping us quite a lot. So I think we can go forward. There's a great future for us to work with Japan. And I think maybe also we can also touch on our labor recruitment. I think we have a lot of Sri Lankans now going there for employment as well, which is quite a good thing happening as well. So I think overall it's a good thing that's happening.
It's going to be fruitful.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Kotaro-san, and thank you very much, Mr. Kariyawasam, for being here with us today. It was truly a promising discussion we had. Thank you very much for being here today with us. And we are looking forward to better days with Japan and the bonding Japan-Sri Lanka. See you next week with a similar discussion, talking about the entrepreneurs and veterans from various fields, the best in the business. Have a pleasant evening.